Give the people a JFK.
Okay. All right. In this time and place, I am required to tell you all that we will go to the moon. Not because it's easy, but because it is hard. Listeners, welcome back to Lost in Postulation. My name is Neil Fitzpatrick, and I am joined by a man who chooses to postulate not because it is easy, but because it is hard. It's Nicola Volpe.
Indeed. Just about as hard as the water in Copenhagen, where we are based, is.
100%. Now newly softened in Frederiksberg, giving the people what they want over here in the posh part of Copenhagen. But
unbelievable. For
famously.
The listeners that aren't acquainted with our stomping grounds here, Neil and I live about a 10-minute cycle ride away from each other, but his water is a lot softer than mine.
Lot softer. Us poshies over here in Frederiksberg, which is a separate commune to Copenhagen for reasons I'm not still entirely sure of.
Slightly higher tax rate.
Slightly lower income tax rate, I believe.
Lower, actually, yes. Look at that.
That's what they love. They're a little bit more right-leaning, the voters here, so they love
historically,
that. Historically so. But then about half a year ago, they softened the water. They added a whole other process to it, and it's such a game changer.
Speaking of game changers,
yeah,
we've had an Instagram for a week and it's killing it.
It is actually. Yeah, loads of engagement actually. I mean, we need to take up the followers a bit more, but like the followers we have are absolutely smashing it. So great job to them.
Yeah, absolutely. Gotten us a few new listeners. We've got polls going at the moment. We have one live at the time of recording about the most tourist-trapped city in Europe. And I think it's very close to being a three-way tie between Rome, Venice, and Paris.
Yeah, you pulled out all the heavy hitters for that one, yeah.
Nobody picking London at the moment. London getting away with it.
I think London it scrapes by. You know, when you put it in that kind of company, there is no kind. And I know there is some downsides to London, but it's not quite at those levels of the others, you know.
What did you vote of those three?
Rome. Sorry.
Rome.
I know.
You don't have to apologize.
No, because last time I took a shot at Rome, you were like, hey, show respect. So,
but I'd argue that Venice is a bit more Disney than Rome by virtue of the fact that nobody actually lives there.
That is true. Yeah. I don't know why. I still come away feeling a bit better after Venice than I do Rome. Not sure why. Yeah. There you go.
Yeah. Well, that's on Instagram at Lost in Postulation.
Sure is. And if people were even more interested to find us elsewhere, they could find us on, for the time being, Twitter, which is at Impostulation. Let's see how much longer that social network stays alive. Looks like Threads is the way to go from now on.
Threads, unreal.
And then you can also email us. That's lostinpostulation@gmail.com for your postulatory needs.
Please do. And Neil, while we're at it, do you have a postulation to start?
I do. We're going back to our old opener, our mundane opener, and I tried to think of something super mundane. Now, this is a topic that I'm going to predict you don't have much experience in now, but you will very soon.
After you educate me on it.
Well, not quite. You'll see what I mean in a sec. Because I wanted to talk about something that I personally have very little interaction with, but I think a lot of our listeners do. Talking about children's playgrounds, right?
Yeah.
Now, let's go. Yeah, something you need to get used to, because very soon this is going to be part of your everyday, and I mean every day.
3 months and 17 days.
Counting down.
I've got the app. We're about 62.5% of the way there.
Wow, look at that.
Look at that.
That's a C in Ireland. As we've talked about before.
Top of the class.
That's top of the class right there. So, with regard to children's playgrounds, what I wanted to get from you once and for all, in as short a time as we can manage, a definitive ranking of the equipment available in children's playgrounds. And I have 6 here.
Okay.
And basically what I want to know is, which ones of these do you put at GOAT tier, greatest toys of all time, best rides of all time, and which do you put in trash tier? Not a good toy. Kids shouldn't be playing with it. It should be scrapped, right?
And this is children's playgrounds, not amusement parks.
Just playgrounds, the ones you'd see out in any real developed part of the world, right?
Yeah.
So I'll give you all the 6, and then tell me if there's any here that you don't know, right? Yeah. So 1 is merry-go-rounds, spinners, anything that spins, right?
Okay.
2 is seesaws, things that balance over and back, you know. 3 is a swing. And we'll just think of a classic swing. None of these, hyper modern net-based swings, let's think of a normal swing here. 4 is the slide. And, we can get into tube slide versus open. We can get into plastic versus metal, but, we'll come back to that. 5 is the climbing frame. So anything that you can kind of climb on, perhaps it links to the slide, but it is a separate...
Monkey bars and the like.
Exactly, all included. Now it is separate to the slide though. Take the slide out of it. And then the final one is hard to describe without doing the actions, which is the little springy ridey thing. You know, you sit on like a little horse or something, and it has a little spring at the bottom, and you like...
Oh, sure.
I don't know what else to call it, but
it's
spring.
It's like a one person. What do you call the thing? The one that you mentioned
Rocking
before?
horse or something. Or no, a one person seesaw.
Seesaw.
Yeah, pretty much. And then I also put down other question mark. If you know of any others, I don't know. But so of those, which ones are you thinking are the top tier?
So I definitely think we should check back in on this in about a year.
For sure. But this is why it's interesting. Let's get your opinion now and your opinion a year from now.
And when I'm evaluating these, it's from my perspective, from
child. So fun per minute, or like return on investment, right?
Okay. Start from the bottom or the top?
Whichever is easier for you.
I think the top, it's the GOAT, as you put it. You and all the Gen Zers that need to rank everything.
Everything must be ranked.
Number 1 is the swing by a long shot.
Okay.
My rationale around that, as please. I imagine you're not going to let me off that easy.
No, definitely not. Please explain.
Is that super entertaining. You can do it nonstop for as long as you want.
True.
Right?
True.
It's not like the slide where you do it, then you have to work your way back to the slide.
Okay.
You can set goals and try to get higher and higher each time.
That is true.
You can try to, us stupider kids, what we were doing was trying to flip over the top.
For sure. Yeah, didn't go well, I can imagine.
No. We were also trying to jump off out the front, would land on our backs sometimes, get the wind knocked out of us. But, you know, it built character.
Okay, I see.
And fundamentally, from all perspectives, what creates the win-win-win is that the kid can do it on their own.
Well, with some training, right? Like there is some learning involved.
Learning to pump your legs a bit. But I think, you know, by the time my son is... What's the over-under
setting some KPIs
is it before walking or after walking?
It's got to be after.
It's got to be after walking.
Yeah.
So at about 11 months,
he'll
be swinging alone. Now, the results, that's a separate discussion.
Weak swinging, but
I think the parent can also win. On the swing.
Okay.
So swing goat.
Swing goat. Okay, let's take it then in that sense that swing is the best. So what's the worst thing? What's the one that you think is like shouldn't even be in the playground?
That spirally bouncy horse thing.
Oh really? Yeah.
Yeah. So now I know in a way maybe I'm contradicting my rationale from the swing where the kid can use this themselves.
Yeah.
But I do not understand. I never liked that thing. I don't understand the value added.
I don't get their proliferation because they are everywhere. Like at least
every playground that you go to. You seem to go to a lot of playgrounds.
Yeah, I can explain. So the main
not having kids.
I know. The main reason is there's a 9-year gap between me and my youngest brother. So he was born when I was 9, and then me, age 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, I'm still in a lot of playgrounds because I'm bringing little Jack.
You must have loved that added responsibility as a 12-year-old.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I did what I could. I wasn't exactly the pulling the heavy weight in that one, but in any case, I did end up, seeing a lot of playgrounds. Kids love playgrounds, as it turns out. So I'm with you on the springy horsey thing, or it shocks me as to how widely spread they are, and I never see kids run straight to them. It's never the one that they're like, oh, can I please go on that? It's always the slide or the swing or the merry-go-round.
Yeah. Definitely.
So I think
it's a second tier playground toy, a third tier potentially.
Yeah.
I remembered one though that actually isn't on your list that I would put close to the bottom, potentially tied with that, maybe even under it, the sand pit.
Yeah, as a parent, I think you got to be watchful of the sand pit because you're inviting a lot of sand into the clothing, and that's just going to get everywhere. It's going to get in the car. It's going to get in the.
It never leaves. I mean, I was on. Forget the playground. I was on the beach this weekend with Maria, and there was sand all over the house for 2 days afterwards.
It's
just
not
because it's everywhere, right?
Yeah, and also dry sand in the playground with no water. It's actually not that fun, right? Like you're not going to build anything with it.
And going back to my time as a kid, you were getting it in your eyes.
Yeah.
There was always the kid who threw sand at the other kids.
Does not play well with others. No. I agree.
Were you one of those?
I was not, couldn't you believe?
Okay.
I was a remarkably timid child, as it's probably a surprise to no one. But all I was going to add on this topic, though, and it's great that you kind of referenced it, the delayed gratification of the slide actually, I think, is a big part of its popularity because the swing is like you get on it and the fun is unlocked, and it's like quick access to fun, you know. There's no barrier to fun, right? Yeah. Whereas like a theme park where you queue for a roller coaster and then you go on it, with the slide, the kid has to like do a bit of work to get there, you know? And it's the work that then gets rewarded with a very quick 3-second slide, right? But it's because they've put in the work to get there that they're like, whoa, like that's what makes it.
But is that whoa
I think
on
it's
most slides?
Yeah? I've seen at least my brother when he was like in that 4 to 6 range, you literally, if you didn't intervene, he was going to be doing it for an hour or 2 hours, just down, up, like on a loop. It's like a literally
feet first always.
Feet first always, and I would definitely think that any parent should be intervening when there's head first involved.
I did a few head firsts.
Yeah, you were a rebellious child. You were like on your back head first or something crazy like that.
Till I got so scared and never wanted to go on a slide again. Basically.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, because now you're absolutely chronically afraid of roller coasters of all kinds. Yeah. Not sure if we wanted to share that with every listener, but there you go.
Well, yeah, but I go on them.
You do, but you are a menace to all the other riders. It's just like the noise, such that the security team of the theme park are like about to stop the ride, being like, "Is this guy okay?"
Oh god,
it's a great to see such a strong reaction, but it is.
We should go back to
it's high
the
time
theme
for some
park soon.
Tivoli, at least,
so.
or even bigger. Go to Sweden. There's some great options over there.
Everything's bigger in Sweden, as they say.
As they do say.
The Texas of Europe.
Sure is. Ouch. I don't repeat that to any Swedes. But no. Wow. Yeah. So I thought we would check in on the old playground, and especially in light of what's to come later this year.
But back to the slide.
Yeah.
You opened this Pandora's box, this can of worms.
Sure.
So let's go into it. Metal slide, plastic slide, tube slide.
So
what do you want?
I have I think tube slides are the way to go, but they also invite the most precariousness or danger, right? Kids can bang their heads on the top of it, but they are the most fun. Let's be real. Now, you don't often get metal tube slides, but when you do, those are quite good. The reason they're good is because the sun, right, on an open metal slide, the sun is going to cook that thing, and it actually becomes a health hazard, I think, especially in hotter countries.
Yeah.
In Ireland, not so much, but I can imagine in South Europe, you don't get many metal slides.
Maybe not.
Those things are going to absolutely fry the child.
Makes sense. Yeah,
on contact. You could boil an egg on those things, but or fry an egg even. But a closed metal slide, I think, is go tier. Just great fun. Nice bong noise as you go down it. You know.
Yeah. That reminds me, the slides that I enjoyed the most, the ones with that. What was that factor you called the woo factor?
Yeah.
At water parks.
Oh yeah. Oh, don't get me started.
Those ones, the payout from that one after the work, I'm with you.
Oh,
that is one of the best attractions.
Water parks are actually, I still think, underrated.
Disgusting though, right?
Yeah, that's the only thing. Is like you have to. It's like how the sausage gets made. Like you can't think about it too much while you're there. You're just like, just get on the ride, just enjoy the ride. It's fine. I've been to a few, including some ones in Italy actually that were quite amazing.
At Gardaland?
Yeah, Aquafan, which is near Gardaland.
Okay, wow.
Absolute goat tier water park.
Yeah, would you say?
I would. Yeah. And I don't use that term lightly. As
no,
you know.
It sounds like you've been to a lot of children's water parks.
I was once a child, would you believe? Yeah, there's one in Ireland actually. Big shout out to anyone from Waterford. Called Splash World. It still exists.
Okay, Waterford.
Yeah, the website was made in 2001, I believe, and it hasn't been updated since. So if you want like
good for them.
Yeah, exactly. Return on investment. So
Respect.
If you want a nice like traveling through time experience, just Google Splash World in Waterford and have a look at their website. It is super fun.
Wonderful.
Well, on that note, here we are, ready to postulate for real.
Yes. And Neil, I conducted a little experiment out in the wild.
Oh yeah.
I told you I was going to conduct a real-world experiment to bring about postulations. I didn't tell you what.
You didn't? I have no idea what this is.
I didn't want you to be influenced before this.
Sure.
This morning, after my 2 hours of meditation and my polar plunge.
The usual,
exactly.
The everyday. Yeah.
As we do.
As we do every day.
We podcasters.
Absolutely. Mandatory.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I headed to my local subway station.
Yes.
I didn't go into the subway.
Uh-oh.
I waited outside. Because there were some observations I had to make.
Fair.
Now, one step back first. Neil, the necktie. Is it dead?
Is it
or
dead?
Is it not?
Is it dead?
When was the last time you wore a necktie? Let's do that.
It would have been a wedding. It was probably a wedding I went to in Portugal a few years ago.
Okay.
Shockingly, yeah.
Well, there you go.
And for work purposes, the last time I wore a necktie...
Did you wear one at my wedding?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, so that would have been the last time.
Okay, that's the last time.
Yeah,
but that's like once a year then.
Exactly. It is once a year, right? But the other shocker is the one time I wore it for work. I wore it for a very big presentation, a panel in work, and I was roundly made fun of by the assessors of that panel, the very senior people who were like, "Oh, he's wearing a tie."
The village elders.
Like, yeah, they had no problem tearing me to shreds over my choice to wear a tie, which I guess says something about the company I work for. But in any case, it was like totally not the done thing, and it was a big mistake on my part. I misread the tone of it, I guess. But ties, yeah, these days in my industry at least, it's a complete no-go.
Yeah, and that's the headspace I was in. Was the last time I wore a tie. Okay, it was a bow tie, not a tie, but that was at my wedding, basically a year ago. I've been to a bunch of weddings where I haven't even had to wear one, for example.
Exactly.
Work-wise, I mean, I barely wear a collar ever. I mean, when am I going to wear a tie? But I had been noticing people going around in ties lately.
Skinny ties, fabric ties, what are we
bit
talking
of everything. Even just totally atrocious ones. So I said, and I I really rattled my brain. When are ties relevant anymore? So I said, you know what? I'm going to conduct an anthropological study about this.
Oh my God. Did you stop people? No.
Went to my local subway station.
Yeah.
Waited outside in the shade. And I said, I am not going to leave until I see some people with ties and figure out why they're wearing ties.
Oh my God. This is like peer-reviewed research right
ambitious.
here.
It took me a bit longer than I hoped for. I mean, I was there during rush hour and I still had to hang around about half an hour.
That's data in and of itself.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So that already tells you something. So, I wanted to find 3. After a bit, I found one.
Okay.
Coming out of the subway. No jacket.
Shirt and tie, nothing else.
Shirt and tie, sleeves already rolled up to start the day.
Yeah.
Warm day.
Yeah.
Striped tie, quite a long one, thick one, old school.
Age range we're talking here?
Age range, I'd say not older than mid-30s.
Okay.
So between 30 and 34, let's say. Male. And do you want to guess what his profession was?
All right.
I didn't ask him, but it was clear.
It was heavily implied.
I mean, he had it on his shirt.
Could be like a hotel worker or something.
Nice guess.
Yeah.
Because that would be relevant, you think?
Yeah. But no?
No, a security guard.
Yeah. So black tie, black shirt, am I right?
No. Light blue shirt, red and blue striped tie.
Okay.
One of these, it's disrespectful to say it, but a rent-a-cop, basically.
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
Yeah.
So he came out like this, and I was thinking, like, I couldn't really take him seriously as a security guard. He was doing the rounds, it was a street where all the kind of jewelers, etc., were opening. One of these G4S Securitas guys.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, like, is that really relevant? Like, I couldn't really take him seriously, as I said. And then he meets up with his buddy, also a security guard.
Also wearing a tie?
No, my friend.
It's a style
wearing
choice.
a black sweater. So with, still in uniform with the logo of the company, whatever.
Okay, yeah.
But then it was like, okay, my friend, you do not need to wear that tie for your job. So why are you wearing that tie for your job?
Unless they have like a guidance where it's like, you can either wear the sweater and no tie or shirt and tie.
But like when I say sweater, it was like black, sporty,
okay.
Yeah. So this guy went out of his way that morning, spent the time, I hope to knot his tie and tie it and not just clip it on. It didn't look like a clip on. I'll give him that credit.
Okay.
And then you're thinking, why? Is it a credibility factor? What's his end game here?
We didn't get to ask him. That's the only...
Security? No,
that's the next step in all this. We need to actually... Although I doubt he would have told you in any case. But yeah, that is a head scratcher for the ages.
Exactly.
What is he up to?
It didn't end there.
No.
Next person to come out.
Okay.
It was quite warm this morning. It's the middle of summer here in Copenhagen. Yeah. This guy came out, jacket, not like a blazer jacket, but like actual like spring, autumn jacket.
Okay. Yeah.
Sweater underneath. Mm-hmm. And what could I see at his neck?
Tucked in
Tucked in tie. casual slacks, very casual, borderline sweatpants slacks, and black Air Force Ones.
Okay.
Okay.
That's a mental image I'm trying to conjure, but struggling a bit.
So his bottom, I would say, very casual.
Okay.
But all of a sudden, his top means business.
Huh.
What job do you think he was doing?
This one I'm feeling like receptionist or something, because it has to be a job where only his top half is visible, surely.
That's your intuition. Again,
Spot
it
on.
amazes me.
Yeah.
He worked at the money exchange.
Yeah. So
Counter.
behind the
job,
counter.
Right?
Yeah. Top half visible only.
And the security guard with the tie actually went over to converse with him and help him open the shop.
Tie buddies. Okay.
Tie buddies.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
there might be something there.
Okay.
That guy, I could get, that might be because there wasn't a benchmark colleague part of the uniform.
Okay.
My question now to you is, are you more likely to get your money exchanged from a guy wearing a tie than a guy not wearing a tie? What is the reason for this dress code?
The reason is to lend credibility to an otherwise shady institution. Sorry to any money lenders out there, or to any exchange people out there, but like, sorry, that industry is fraught with fraud and scams, right? So I think for sure whoever owns that one has put it in their uniform to say, guys, ties are mandatory, you got to look sharp, we're professional, this is what we do, you know. And honestly, like, it almost makes me worried now that I think of it, it's like if they are wearing a tie, it's almost a bad sign. It's like they're trying to hide something.
But that's my question. A chunky looking tie nowadays,
It's so weird.
where the leaders of the biggest companies in the world wear t-shirts, doesn't it look a bit cartoonish and
does.
actually have the opposite effect
Yeah.
of not taking these
But
guys seriously?
actually, this is why, you know, when you've been asking me what industry, I'm going I'm not going white collar. I'm going like other examples,
collar.
like car rental, working McDonald's, like those ones actually do have ties. Like, and that's, I can't explain it. Why is it so formal for them and not for like actual corporate, you know, workers? I don't know. But yeah, it's a weird little trend we're on here. Yeah.
And then the third one finally came out, allowing me to leave.
Thank God.
I couldn't leave, however, before I followed him.
Okay. Amazing. This is like now borderline illegal activities. I love it. This is great.
Fortunately, he didn't go very far.
Okay.
But he had no clue I was following him,
Yeah.
I imagine. But
Unless
I
he
felt
listens.
I didn't really like what I was feeling. I really felt this
bad
isn't
vibes.
so cool. Like,
Okay.
I don't want to be stalking people.
Oh yeah, that's fair.
I proceeded to follow him. He went down the street where our other tie buddies had been, and he was wearing a tie with a shirt and a jacket. Again, not a blazer, a Lacoste windbreaker. Okay? Kind of like a high school football coach that takes himself a bit too seriously.
Yeah.
And he walked in, at this point, unsurprisingly, into the Cartier store.
Okay.
Cartier jewelry, right?
Yeah.
And there again, maybe part of a uniform, I imagine.
So I think what we've established here, or a question that has almost been answered, is anybody wearing a tie out of choice? By choice, for fashion purposes? My answer is basically no.
Well, we do have one there that we know for a fact was wearing it out of choice.
Security guard at least made some kind of a choice, yes. Although, like, I still think that he doesn't have the option to wear shirt, open top, open top button, no tie. I don't think that's in his wheelhouse. I'm still, even the guy with the sweater, I don't know, maybe he's breaking some rules here, but like, it would be surprising if he's wearing a tie out of choice in a hot summer's day. I don't know. So it raises a lot of questions.
There's a lot of questions there. So I looped in our esteemed colleague, ChatGPT.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
right? What else are you going to do now in 2023?
Gotta ask ChatGPT.
You got to ask the chat.
Yeah.
So, and she started, he,
okay.
they.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, what do you see ChatGPT as?
I often do.
What gender?
What's the word? Anthropomorphize it a bit. I give it a human quality, even when I shouldn't.
Me too.
And gender-wise, I don't know. I guess I just lean towards a kind of an ambiguous they.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, first, it gave me an overview of ties over time and a bit the decline, which I had also read another article on earlier in the day. I thanked it, and I proceeded with a follow-up question because it told me that in some professional fields, and I quote, the necktie holds significance still. And I said, what are these professional fields? And it gave me 5 professional fields. So let's evaluate if we agree with this.
Okay.
The first one, business and finance, where she proceeded to tell me that the tie is seen as a symbol of professionalism, authority, and wait for this, attention to detail in these industries. When you see someone with a tie in business or finance, and do you think, wow, they must be really into the numbers, the attention to detail because they're wearing that tie.
Yeah, they're able to tie a very simple knot. Well done to them. That was, wow. I trust you with my life savings. This feels like ChatGPT took a little left turn into like the 1950s and pulled some insight from there. I think
it's boomer GPT.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like this would have been true, as I said, and is probably still true only of the most old school industries. I'm talking, finance in London, in the city in London, those kind of like real traditional old school industries. But no, not like any modern company that's actually existing in 23. I don't think the people are wearing ties, are they?
I mean, beats me. I've worn a tie once in the last year for my wedding, and the time before that must have been for another wedding.
Indeed.
Yeah. Well,
so business? Yeah.
Okay. Business, I think we write off.
Okay.
The next one, and here I think she had a point.
Mm-hmm.
Law and legal professions.
Yeah, that would be weird. Like to stand in the court representing your client and just being like, yeah.
A trial attorney, I think, would always have a tie. She raised something, though, that made me think. Because it represents respect for the legal system.
I kind of buy that as well, actually. And I'm not one of these people who goes for the wigs and everything. I don't think that's needed, but like there is a kind of an unspoken respect required for the whole thing to work, Like if you're going to participate in this system where there's a judge, you kind of have to show from the outset that you fully buy into it and you're not here to, disrespect the whole process.
Right.
Yeah. So I kind of like that, actually.
Yeah. And actually, if you think about it, even Zuck showed up in front of the Senate to testify with a tie.
Exactly.
Only time you'll ever see a picture of him with a tie.
That's true. That is true, actually. Yeah.
So there is still something to the tie in our perceptions.
In very specific.
Right?
When you're in trouble, basically.
When you're in trouble.
And you need to show that you're not, and you're not arrogant, then you do it. Yeah.
Here's an interesting one. Politics and government.
Well, not so much anymore, right?
I kind of call bullshit on it because even before, when a politician wanted to show he or she is a man or woman of the people, it's jacket off, sleeves rolled up.
It's John Fetterman.
Definitely no
for
tie.
example, yeah.
Well, John Fetterman and Carhartt
and
going
jeans,
the other way,
Carhartts
right?
and t-shirt,
so it's very convenient that for some politicians you say, oh, it's disrespectful, they're not wearing a tie.
Yeah.
But then they turn on the other mask, right? But that's politics.
That's politics. I mean, yeah, I see the point. I think it's, again, a little bit outdated, but neither here nor there.
And then the one that you were on about, high-end sales and customer service, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of what my study revealed, I guess.
Yeah.
Because you show that you are maintaining, and I quote, a polished and sophisticated image.
That's even one where you'll see women wearing ties, actually. Like in like fancy hotels or like...
Yes, actually.
Which is a real strange one. Because normally, like no corporate would expect a woman to wear a tie, I don't think.
No.
It's always like
it's always been considered a predominantly male accessory, I guess.
I wore one every day in school, by the way. I don't know if you did.
No.
Yeah. Every day.
Really?
Yeah. Which, again, if you question, it's like, why the hell? Like, were they training us to grow into good little business drones? Like, what's the reasoning for the tie? It was weird. But I wore one every day. Yeah.
And you did the knot yourself every day from the young age.
Little life hack, which is to undo it not all the way and then take it off over your head. And then you can just tighten it.
Same tie every day.
Same tie every day. Oh, God, yeah.
Wow.
But there you go.
And would you like loosen it up and do a daddy's home from work halfway through the day? Or?
No, it's in big trouble if you did that.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Now, the only bit of like self-expression you could do was how fat you made the knot. So some guys would like have these absolute whoppers, like taking up the entire front like quadrant of their chest, basically, with these
basically leaving
knots.
No tie to come down.
Yeah, because you were wearing little jumpers as well. So the tie would go down into the V-neck, and then who knows,
Right.
So people would just do these maybe as an act of rebellion or something. There would be this like chunky knot at the top. It's ridiculous now I think about it. But so I was a tie wearer. Not due to my high-end sales, but due to my schooling. Yeah.
Well, there you have it. I will continue my experiment on the tie.
Please.
Going to different locations, finding people that are wearing ties.
Following them.
Maybe I'll resort to talking to them instead of following them next time.
That's one option. Yeah. They may tell you where to go. I mean, they may not want to talk to you at all, but
Exactly.
it's worth a try.
And then it gets a bit awkward to follow them after they've told you to kind of sod off, right?
Yeah, you can be like, well, I'm also going that way, and they won't buy that, not for a second. But that's what the game is all about. That's postulation for you, you know.
There you go. The future and past of the necktie. We'll take a break and come back with more postulations for you listeners. Listeners, welcome back to the Lost in Postulation podcast. I'm joined again by Neil Fitzpatrick. Neil, you can loosen your tie a little bit for this next segment.
Nice. Chilling out a little bit, finally.
Exactly. No, we were just discussing that a bit offline now during the break about Neil's time in school, but we'll save that for another episode.
Absolutely.
So, Neil, this segment, if you go back to the end of last year, I think it was episodes 4 and 5 of this podcast, very early days, last December, we made our big bets for 2023.
We sure did, with much worse audio quality than we currently have. Sorry about that.
Definitely. So we might not recommend you to go back and listen to that, but we'll cut to an overview of these right now.
2023, my buys. Shocking horror movies, messed up, crazy, scary movies, AI chatbots and all the good that they will bring to the world, and screen time as the new step count.
Yes, my buys, Morocco, yes, the country, the Chalamets, plural, and a female Bond.
Lock it in. On the sells then, we have passive investing on my side. We have social media as a whole, or maybe to get more specific, the toxic negative side of social media, and franchise movies.
My sells, we have Succession Season 4, we have Elon Musk, and we have John David Washington. And there you have it. Those were our big bets for 2023. Some atrocious, some still going. And so what we've decided to do now, midpoint of the year, is see where are we doubling down, where are we cashing out, so we adjust this going forward for a big recap towards the end of the year.
Exactly. So we're not going to do like a minimum, you have to do this, or minimum, cash out, minimum one or whatever. Let's just see what we feel here in this list.
Exactly. So Neil, of your buys, what are you doubling down on? Or cashing out on?
Yeah, I think I'll start with a cash out actually, because I was almost a little bit like behind the curve when I called out AI chatbots, right? Like ChatGPT was just taking off. I had never used it at that point, but since then it absolutely exploded, as we know, right? However, usage of ChatGPT has plummeted in the past, I think, week or 2 weeks. I saw an article about it recently.
Yeah.
Some of the discourse online has also referenced that and backed it up with some pretty spot on analysis, which is it gets less impressive the more you use it, ChatGPT, right? That when you first use it, it's this miraculous, oh my God, how does it know thing? And the more you use it, the more you realize, oh, it is just confidently saying wrong things. Like you can ask it a question and ask like, who was the first man on the moon? And it won't get this wrong, but just as an illustrative example, it will with 100% confidence just be like, Woody Allen was the first man on the moon. And then
did that happen?
No, not that exact example, but like to issues of more, say, obscurity than that, right? Say Irish history or something.
Right.
It will just confidently tell you something wrong. And then you can say, are you sure about that? Like, what's your source for that? And it goes, yes, I am sure about that. My source is this article. And then you can say, that article doesn't say what you just said. And then it goes, oh, I apologize for the misunderstanding. So
how very human of ChatGPT.
Yeah, and thanks for apologizing. But my point is like, that's so not okay for anything to do with like information. Like, so my understanding of ChatGPT now is like, okay, it's useful for rough brainstorming of hypothetical stuff that may be or may not be the right information, but it's useless for stats. It's useless for actual facts, really, because it's like Wikipedia, but worse. You can't actually trust it at all. You need to verify everything it says. And I think people are getting wise to that now. And I think there's still a gap in the market for like ChatGPT, but good, or like but accurate, you know?
Verified.
So what I would like to do is cash out my ChatGPT. So
Okay.
what I'm saying is, I think we've already seen peak ChatGPT, and
Forever or for 2023?
unless they drastically change
Oh, wow.
the product, I think like it's a predictive language model, and only that. So people have been talking about it in every tech company presentation for the past 3 months or 4 months.
How they're
Everyone's
going to
saying,
leverage
of
it,
course,
etc.
generative AI is how we run our business and blah, blah. I don't see that at all. And I think by the end of this year, we won't be talking about ChatGPT. So I'm actually going to have it as a cash out now.
Wow.
Buy low, sell high, and get out of
Look at you.
ChatGPT.
You bought medium, you sold.
Yeah, I bought it when the
Medium
going was
high,
good.
yeah.
Say, I tried
Okay.
to,
All right.
I don't want to try and catch the knife, you know? Or is
Wow.
that even relevant?
So let's see where we are when it's writing our podcast for us 5 years down the road.
when it's doing the podcast.
Doing the
yeah.
podcast, exactly.
Just using our voices as the
Exactly.
input. Yeah.
How about that? Synthetic voice. Okay.
So that's mine. That's
you're
my
cashing
first.
out on ChatGPT. Bold.
Yes.
Okay.
Bold, but, you know, I'm here for the bold calls. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
I, instead, am going to double down on one of my buys. On Morocco.
Yeah.
We said after that World Cup run, the tourism would go up in Morocco. It's gone up. We've just looked at the data before coming in here.
Mm-hmm.
But I am doubling down because we're halfway through the summer now. I expect that trend to keep going throughout the year.
Yeah.
And Morocco to become one of the premier destinations on the Mediterranean.
That is a huge call, I think. Also because,
I
like,
believe.
when is the right time to visit Morocco? Is it like October, November time?
I guess it kind of depends where you go because it's also, there's parts which are quite like mountainous. And then as with many desert, like arid desert parts, it can cool off dramatically at night, etc. But
Okay.
my go-to when you're talking like Mediterranean, my rule of thumb is usually like September, October, or April, May.
Yeah. Okay,
if you
okay.
don't want to be suffocated, right? So
Well, the data speaks for itself, right? I don't
Yeah.
disagree with you. The tourism numbers are higher than ever. However, these were our pop culture big bets, right? And people
Okay, you're calling- yeah.
Now people are going there, right? But all I will say is, I was with you that after it was the World Cup, wasn't it?
Yeah.
There was this huge buzz, and people were talking about it, and it was like an interesting part of conversation.
a watershed moment.
Exactly, for the country. And I very much agree and very happy for them. But I haven't had any conversations about Morocco, I don't think, this year, to be honest. No one has it hasn't come up in like polite conversation where people are like, oh, you know what's interesting actually? Morocco is blah, blah, blah. No.
It's a
So-
fair challenge. I'm going to double down because
Do it.
the tourists are going to come back, hopefully,
Yeah.
the non-package holidayers,
Okay.
with a taste for Moroccan culture, cuisine, music,
Well, this is crucial.
cinema. And that's what's going to make my bet go.
Have you-
Not the tourism data
Yeah.
itself, but what
The
comes from that. The
returns.
return, thank
Now,
you.
but here's the thing. Have you actually met too many people coming back from Morocco saying, better than expected, 5 stars? Like, absolutely amazing.
No, but I've also not met anybody coming back from Morocco saying 3 stars.
You just haven't met people coming back from Morocco.
Not many.
Yeah, exactly. I think so. There are a record number of tourists, but we have yet to encounter them, let's say.
That could be my next subway experiment.
It could be, yeah.
Wait outside of the
Listeners.
subway with a clipboard this time.
This is the exact type of thing we want the listeners chipping in on, actually.
Yes,
So
please.
if we do have any Morocco travelers, does it live up to the expectations? Does it exceed them? I would love to know.
Let us know.
Yeah.
And then we're going to have to go ourselves for a live show from Casablanca.
Add it to the list, Jesus, yeah.
Humphrey Bogart.
Pour some out.
Was it?
No.
It wasn't Humphrey Bogart in Casablanca?
It actually was. Actually, let's say it was.
We're going to need to throw in another
I've
correction.
seen it, but I can't remember. There you go. But
Okay.
so that is your double down.
Yes,
Quite,
that is my double down.
Quite controversial, I would say, but you're confident.
Well,
Should we
dude, you cashed out on ChatGPT at the
That's
beginning.
that is a safe bet, believe me. Should we jump over to the cells actually?
Yeah, let's do that.
So there's one that I think I might double down on. Ooh, actually there's one I probably should. Yeah, I think I'll double down on this one. I was all about selling franchise movies, right?
Yeah.
I was really like already at that point, this was in December, done with the likes of Marvel, with what else? Those
DC, all of it,
DC.
right?
There's even more.
Lucasfilm,
Indiana Jones,
whatever you want.
Star Wars, yeah, all that, right? Done with it. And that has wildly, or for the most part, proven to be true, I think, this year.
Yeah.
Not one Marvel film has done well. In fact, they've flopped like hell.
People are tired of it.
Pixar movies have absolutely flopped. Indiana Jones, by early reckoning, seems to be doing absolutely terrible as well. The only franchise...
My dad liked it.
Okay, well...
Big Harrison Ford energy there.
Yeah. He's a safe bet. Harrison Ford's enjoyable.
But that might be the demographic.
Maybe so. No offense to any of an older generation.
And he wrote, and I quote from our text, 2 hours flew by.
Hey, it's a good sign. Doesn't always happen, even with a good movie. But the only franchise that seems to have done well, actually, is Mission Impossible. The one that just came out. Apparently...
Not based on IP.
Well, yeah, exactly. It's only based on itself in that sense, right? It's like it has how many 7 movies now or something? I've lost count.
And he wants to. He looks as young as he did at the first. So why not?
I mean, if he's still doing those stunts that he's doing, I'd keep him at it. Yeah. I haven't seen any of the new ones. I think the last one I saw was Ghost Protocol, which is like the 4th one. But
it must have stopped there as well.
Yeah, I think apparently it's good. Like actually good reviews and stuff like that. But my point stands, which is I think these franchise movies are done 100%, and I think by the end of this year, it will only just be worse. Like people will actively online memes, everything else would be like, lol, remember when we used to watch the 19th sequel from the Marvel movies and think it was good? You know,
I hope so.
This kind of stuff. So I would actually double down on that one.
I hope so. And I mean, I was out of this game long before, I haven't been a fan, but I think part of what we discussed also in December was the impact franchise movies declining could have on creativity, could have on us actually appreciating what Marty Scorsese would call real cinema, etc.
Sure.
So I think there's a huge potential domino effect to come from this as well.
I agree.
Franchise movies, you're doubling down on the sell of franchise movies.
Exactly. So I'm selling it again. I'm shorting it, actually, is basically what I'm doing.
You're doubling down on your short.
I'm shorting the short.
Steve Carell, The Big Short. Here.
Exactly.
Great film.
Nothing can go wrong. Yeah.
Now, what am I going to do here? I effed up Succession already.
That was a big miss. Swinging a miss.
Big miss, considering it might be the best season of television ever made. Jury is out. We'll see in 10 years, but still, definitely top 3. So I am going to double down, actually. My second double down of the day. I'm going to double down on my sell of Elon Musk. Yeah. On Elon Musk to self-combust. We are on track.
Absolutely.
Twitter is getting crushed. He had to put a new CEO. Threads is coming in, stealing his share just like that. He's admitted himself, basically, in various interviews that he tried to find every possible way out of the deal. But then when he saw the lawsuits would amount to more than the asking price, etc., he stayed in. He's had to sell a bunch of his Tesla stock to prop up this business, which isn't a business because, quite frankly, it doesn't make any money. So that's also driven down Tesla, making him poorer as a result. Now, I'm not saying you're going to find Elon Musk at the corner bakery, begging for coins, but I don't think we're going to rate him anymore by the end of this year.
I think he's become a bit of a toxic asset, and as has Twitter for advertisers, for example. Like advertisers are ditching the platform in their droves because he's just a really awful figure to hang your brand on, like to even show that you're associated with. It's a bit unfortunate though, because to the untrained observer, to the neutral observer like myself, it seems like such an easy, like if you take over Twitter, the main thing is like just kind of take it easy, like nothing. It was doing okay, like it wasn't massively profitable, but if you could just broadly like cut some costs and like keep the thing rolling, it was a pretty decent money spinner. It had its own little niche. I don't think Facebook was thinking of launching Threads until all this happened.
It's pure opportunism, right?
Unbelievable, but genius, by the way, from Zuck, who by all accounts, from what I'm seeing now, has somehow emerged as like the hero in this.
And let's remember, there are no good guys in that fight because it's Zuckerberg.
He's like the butt of all jokes, Zuckerberg, and he's somehow
are no good guys.
Yeah, and he somehow has come out of this as like, guys, I want to create a positive space, and everyone's like, yes, amazing, go. Like, it's hilarious just how quickly Elon fell. And I was reminded recently that like it wasn't so long ago that I was an edgelord 26-year-old saying how cool Elon was.
We've been there, reading the biography and everything. But I mean, the fact, I think, that we're kind of cheering for Zuck in this fight
That's
says it
bizarre.
all. I mean,
and that's the scary part almost, right?
Google Cambridge Analytica, for those of you that have no clue what we're talking about, just for a little appetizer, and then tell us what you think of Zuck. But
let that start you off. Yeah. But like, it's true. And the New York Times, the podcast, The Daily, did a great discussion on this, where their point was like, why is the alternative to Twitter another Twitter rather than not using any of them and just going outside, you know?
Right.
Why are we so terminally online, to use that phrase, that like the only acceptable substitute for Twitter is something exactly like Twitter? You know?
But it also shows how those types of businesses, their only backbone is the network effects that they have.
Yeah.
The moment those users defect to another platform, Twitter has no value
100%
anymore, right?
Yeah.
So it's just goes to show. So I am not doubling down. I am tripling down on this one.
On Musk.
How about that?
I think that's important though, that you're tripling down on Musk, not Twitter, right? Because you by all, there's a path for Twitter where he somehow sells it at a discount and gets out. You know?
I think the Twitter path is the Yahoo path from a few years ago, where ultimately, you know, with Yahoo it was, well, it died off, but they found out that there was this valuable portion of Yahoo, which was that they owned some shares in Alibaba.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
So that's the only type of scenario.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know what Twitter has on their balance sheet that could be such an asset, but that's the only possible scenario where I see Twitter being anything more than this little light blue bird.
I don't know. I feel like if I was Elon now, somehow my play is, okay, this hasn't gone well. How can I recoup as much of my investment as possible and never have to think about this again, and give it to anybody who actually knows how to run a social media company, and just leave them at it, you know? Like, because he just can't extract value from this thing. I don't think.
No, definitely not. And I think he's been aware of that since the beginning. If you go back to the discourse, it was basically a political play, right? This whole thing. It was all the rhetoric around him buying it was him, you know, wanting to return free speech and blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
Nothing about business fundamentals.
No, I think it was actually very reminiscent of Brexit in some ways. That I think he was the richest man in the world for a brief time. And
some days he is, some days he's not.
Exactly. These days, not so much. But he was kind of, him and Jeff were kind of trading the mantle for a while. And it was probably around that time that he was like, I can literally do whatever I want.
Yeah.
And a bit like how when Brexit came up, a lot of people voted for Brexit kind of as a, let's just see what happens. Like, what? Imagine if we did, you know, like, and didn't really think through, I won't be able to retire in Spain anymore. You know, like they were just thinking.
Only Gibraltar.
Exactly. Yeah. And even then, but like that was the extent of the thinking for many voters, I think, was just like, wouldn't it be so funny if it actually did, you know?
Right.
And I think, again, he was like, wouldn't it be so funny if I actually paid $4.20 a stock for $4.20 a share for Twitter, like, you know, just stupid stuff. And now obviously this is what happens. But I think his days as a public figure are kind of numbered, I feel.
Yeah, I think so. There is also the scenario, probably the way things are shaking, where MBS, you know, Mohammed bin Salman, the Saudi crown prince, helps him out somehow. Like that's very likely.
If you have no standards, if you have no limits as to who you'll get into bed with, then he'll be fine, you know?
Right.
I would have hoped that he has some degree of like common sense or critical thinking to be like, maybe I shouldn't align with the murdering psychopaths.
Well, I think he's defied the logic of common sense so many times that we can't give him the benefit of that doubt.
I guess not. But geez, it's a bit depressing almost, because he could have been an inspiration, really, you know?
Yeah.
If he had just stayed sane, if he had just kind of
not gotten a high off of his own supply.
So sad to see. But well, there you go.
Well, there you go. On that sour note, is there anything else from these big bets you want to touch on now?
Let's see. I think let's look at it from both sides. I'm looking at yours and mine here and just seeing, is there any that I wanted to pull out? I got it wrong on the horror movies. I'm willing to put my hand up. That's one I would probably just let go from my buys.
I haven't seen any new horror movies myself this year.
I checked it out just prepping for today. There's a film called Megan 3, Megan, or like Megan.
Didn't that come out like in January?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's still 23.
Like that dull, very creepy looking poster.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's a horror comedy or comedy horror. So not quite what I was talking about in my big bet. I was saying like proper scary movies were going to make a comeback. There have been some, like Evil Dead Rise came out, and there's like, nothing has captured the zeitgeist, certainly not, right? So I'm basically willing to let that go The only reason I would double down is out of pure stubbornness.
Hold out for Halloween.
Yeah, you never know, right?
Right.
But I just don't know of anything upcoming, you know? No big...
I guess it also depends how you define horror. Would that Killers of the Flower Moon that's going to come out?
Could do.
There's horrific aspects to it, a bit a la Shutter Island.
But like, what I was getting at with that was, remember when like Paranormal Activity came out?
Right.
And it was like so scary. Like, you have to go see it. It's so scary, you know?
And there's the big reveal and the big scare and
Blair
nobody...
Witch, same thing, right? Blair Witch Project. So when it captures really the public consciousness and is... The whole point is how scary it is. That was what I was kind of expecting. I thought we were overdue for one of those.
It might be because we can't keep secrets anymore, so like you can't really have that.
Oh, no
that
more
moment.
twists. Yeah,
no
imagine,
more twists, right?
Like if The Empire Strikes Back came out today, you know, like Darth Vader's dead. Darth Vader's dead. It would be on every meme.
Spoiler.
Yeah, exactly. Ridiculous. But
okay, horror
so
movies.
I'll let that one go. I think horror movies. Yeah, I'm going to cash out at a loss on that one. I have to say. Yeah.
Well, I think this one you were on to something. Social media. You sold social media.
I did sell social media, but I think I got it a bit wrong because Threads has 100 million users after a week. So
they are just a copy of Instagram users. Because my understanding is you log in with your Instagram account, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's genius that that's the case. It's actually, if anything, it's like, why didn't they do this sooner? This was an absolute game changer for Meta. But I think what we may be seeing the end of is algorithmically triggering content which lives off enraging you, right? A lot of what has worked for Twitter and Facebook, and to a lesser extent even Reddit, right, is headlines that garner an angry or a rage reaction in the
newspapers even.
They're like, just as guilty. Like, even, it's sad to say, but like formerly very respectable newspapers have started just flat out putting in clickbait, enraging headlines purely for the clicks, you know? It's a shame to see. But my point was going to be that maybe we've seen the end of that, because the whole buzz around Threads has been that it is a positive space, right? And that it will be heavily moderated and avoiding hate speech, avoiding negativity. Now, let's see how true that is. And
We're 5 days into it.
I know. So that's the concept. Let's see how the execution is. And of course, there'll be teething issues. But I just think perhaps people are wise now to the fact that most social media, when you close it, you come away feeling worse, not better. Right. And I still think that if there's a space for a positive social media somehow, don't know what that could look like. Yes, that could be a thing. But I don't think I was right to say all social media is on the way out.
I'd bet on podcasting.
You sure? Did you actually?
No, I didn't. You did not. But I would now.
You would now, man.
After this.
You missed the train. The wave on that one.
Yeah, I guess then here, I mean, I bought a female Bond. I don't know what to make of that at the moment. I haven't heard any rumors. I haven't even heard like who could be the next Bond. I know they reached out to Idris for the 20th time. Kahlua also.
What are they up to though?
I don't know if there's gonna be, because my bet was also female Bond in terms of not necessarily she would play the titular character, but that there would kind of no longer be that formula of the titular Bond, and instead it's kind of, you know, a consortium or whatever you want to refer to it as. So
I'm a bit disappointed that they haven't, because it's
the Broccolis,
Barbara in particular. It seems like the reason I'm disappointed is because if they were filming it, it would have probably leaked by now, you know? Like they're
definitely not filming. They don't have an actor.
Exactly. So it's like the next Bond film we see could be potentially 2028 or something like that by the time it's actually done.
Maybe they call back DC.
Yeah, all is forgiven, or you know, we changed our mind. No, I think he's absolutely done with it.
He's done, man.
100%
he's tired.
Done. Yeah, leave him off. I think he had a great run, the longest ever run. Come on,
longest ever in terms of years.
Yeah,
from first
not in films, but in years.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, so yeah, don't know what to make of that. I guess I'll hold. Yeah, on the off chance that it could happen.
You holding it,
and I had even thrown out a name. I think it was not Loretta Lynch. She was like a district attorney or something, but something Lynch. I had thrown her out. She had played in Woman King or things like this. Okay. I liked her at the time.
Fair enough. Didn't last. Yeah.
John David Washington I sold, and John David Washington,
where is he now?
Where is he now? What has he done?
You can double down on that one, I think.
Let's double down.
Doubling down means that you don't think he's going to reappear in the next 6 months, which I don't think he is.
No, the bet was that he wasn't an A-list leading man.
Yeah, agree.
And I think that
not only that, he's gone. Like he hasn't done a film.
He probably listened to the podcast and spiraled out of control.
We would have
Poor
really
guy.
got to him, yeah.
I like him as a guy, yeah. No, I
lovely
was
guy.
just saying he's just doesn't have the acting chops of his
Denzel.
father.
Yeah. And a few people do, let's be real.
Exactly.
I think the only remaining one, and again, my foray into
Oh, God.
yeah, my foray into financial advice.
Our
So
listeners loved that at the time.
everybody grab your grain of salt now, if you can all just do that. The listeners love this. I think I was right, though. I think anybody tell me any passive fund that they are bought into that's higher now than it was 6 months ago, I would happily eat my hat. But sorry, passive investing, no. Get it into cash.
Your alternative, if I remember, was holding the cash under your mattress.
No, in a high interest savings account, which has been proven true as well. You can get like up to 2.5% here in Denmark on just a savings account, on a cash savings account right
So
now.
your return is 2.5%, which is lower than the
Guaranteed.
inflation.
No,
Okay.
yeah, but it's guaranteed rather than -5 or -10 on a passive fund. 100%. I know. I'm just saying, like, if you were dollar cost averaging the past like 3 years, and thinking, yeah, I mean, how bad can it be? I think this is the year where you start thinking, okay, this is how bad it can be. This is not good. Like I've thrown, like most people have probably thrown a lot of money at passive investing over the past few years, and are just well in the red right now, and would have been better off doing nothing, honestly.
Being passively bad.
Exactly.
Listeners who love that content, that is just a preview of a solo podcast Neil hosts every Friday. Called Investing with Neil.
0 listeners so far. Really hoping to build that one out, but
rate and review. It really helps to grow the podcast.
Yeah, I've got a lot of 1 stars so far, so I need to offset those. No, as I said, look, pinch of salt.
People are
right?
rating it without even listening to
Oh
it.
yeah, they know. But no, like, I'm not saying I know anything about this, right? I'm
Let
just
it
saying.
go.
I'm just saying. I think I'm right. That's all.
Okay, well, you're doubling down on the sell of passive investing, whatever that means.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I think we wrap it up there. Succession, I failed miserably. I'm going to take that one to my grave. And yeah, the Chalamets. Now, Timothy, is slated to do the next Dune. Timothy going to be the Leo of his generation.
But that wasn't your postulation.
My postulation was the Chalamets as a package, right? Because that allowed me to get in a bit cheaper on this bet, because his sister, oh no, I'm blanking out on her name here.
Well, there you go. That's as old, doesn't it?
Well, yes, Miss Chalamet, brain fart of mine,
There you go.
is the next up-and-coming star on her own.
I would find that easier to believe if you could remember her name.
She's
but
got a short film coming out later this year. I
Great.
saw that on IMDb.
Oh,
So
I think this is when you need to let go as well, to be
you
honest.
think?
Yeah.
But I can't cash out if I'm in a negative position now. What if she...
Talk about my situation. This is
passive
we're back on passive investing. I think you need to let this one go. Cash out now. Reinvest the money somewhere else. This is not going to do it for you.
What was her name?
We can look it up. This is the
is
magic
horrible.
of Google. We can find out. But I seriously think it's a sign that...
Pauline Chalamet. Of
Pauline.
course, Pauline.
Yeah. Well,
I'm proud of you, Pauline.
are you doubling down or cashing out? What's happening here?
I'm holding.
Okay. So neither. You're just kind of...
I think that
Gonna
short
ride it out.
film is going to be a huge hit. That short film by the name of The Appraisal.
I will believe it when
She
I see
plays April in The Appraisal. When you go on to the IMDb page of this, it's an 8-minute short.
That's too short.
It's got no ratings yet, as I imagine it hasn't been released yet. And the description, in IMDb says, know what this is about, be the first to add a plot.
I am going to actually...
So it's really, kept
I will
a secret.
counter. No, I have to counter you on this. I'm going for a sell on this, and we will see at the end of the year.
All right.
If the
But you can't
Chalamets-
sell my stock. You don't have access to my
I'm
brokerage account
shorting
here.
it now separately. Like 2 different transactions, just to be
Alright.
clear. I'm shorting.
Warring transactions like we had on Succession, which you became a rich man of.
Sure did.
That was the easy way out.
That was
but
the easy
whatever.
way out, but
Yeah.
still, safe bet's a safe
Okay,
bet.
there you have it. And,
Well-
and once again, approaching an hour of a podcast talking absolute postulatory nonsense.
This is what the people love, at least we think. But thank you once again, as ever, dear listener, and Nicola, for joining on this postulatory journey. Do you have any final parting shots for the listener?
Final parting shots. I mean, I say, you know what? Do not be afraid, like Neil, to talk about things you have absolutely no clue about
Yeah.
and record a podcast about them.
The worst thing that'll happen is that you'll learn something when you get corrected later.
Exactly.
It's win, win,
Or
win.
you'll double down on what you said.
I still think I'm right. Prove me wrong, listeners. Prove me wrong. But,
Dr. Delight, hit him.